In a social media post, Elon Musk slammed Biden administration after they admitted flying over 320,000 unvetted migrants into the U.S.
The political landscape of the United States has always been a focal point of global attention, especially when it comes to elections. In the run-up to 2024, an unexpected development has added fuel to the already heated atmosphere: Elon Musk's revelation about President Joe Biden's health. According to Musk, Biden is suffering from an illness that has raised significant concerns about his ability to fully function as the nation's leader. While Biden may be able to complete his current presidential term, this illness has, as Musk suggests, played a crucial role in Biden's decision not to run for re-election in 2024. Instead, Vice President Kamala Harris has emerged as the Democratic candidate facing off against Donald Trump in a highly anticipated and contentious electoral battle. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. Elon Musk, a billionaire entrepreneur known for his outspoken opinions and involvement in multiple industries, has long been an active participant in political discussions. His statements about Joe Biden's health, however, have taken the discourse to a new level. Musk, who has millions of followers on social media and an enormous platform in global media, made waves when he claimed that Biden's physical and cognitive decline had become too significant to ignore. Although the specifics of Biden's illness have not been publicly disclosed by the White House, Musk's assertion stirred speculation about the nature of the condition and its implications for the future of U.S. politics. President Biden, born in 1942, is already the oldest person to ever serve as the President of the United States. Throughout his tenure, there have been occasional concerns about his health, particularly in terms of his mental sharpness and physical stamina. His public appearances have sometimes been marked by stumbles, verbal gaffes, and moments where he appeared disoriented or confused, fueling ongoing speculation about his well-being. While his supporters often dismiss these moments as typical errors that any public figure could make, Musk's remarks have reinvigorated the debate, suggesting that Biden's condition is far more serious than the general public may realize. In Musk's view, Biden's illness, whether it involves cognitive decline or a physical ailment, has reached a point where stepping down from a second-term bid was the only viable option. This decision, if influenced by health concerns, marks a significant moment in U.S. political history. The Democratic Party now finds itself in a unique and somewhat precarious position, with Kamala Harris thrust into the spotlight as the party's standard-bearer. Harris, who served as a senator from California before becoming vice president, has had a mixed reception from the public. While she made history as the first woman, the first black woman, and the first person of South Asian descent to hold the vice presidency, her approval ratings have fluctuated, and her performance on the national stage has often been scrutinized. The implications of Musk's claims about Biden's health extend far beyond the inner workings of the Democratic Party. With Harris leading the ticket in 2024, the election is poised to be one of the most consequential in recent history. The matchup against Donald Trump, the Republican candidate who is also no stranger to controversy, creates a dynamic that is both dramatic and uncertain. Trump, having lost the 2020 election to Biden, has spent the years since that defeat maintaining a stronghold on the Republican base, refusing to concede that loss and continuing to promote unfounded claims of widespread election fraud. His presence in the 2024 election signifies a rematch of sorts, though this time with a different Democratic opponent in Harris. Biden's health issues, as exposed by Musk, add a layer of complexity to the election. For one, they could lead to heightened scrutiny of the candidates' ages and physical fitness. Both Trump and Harris are likely to face questions about their ability to serve a full term in office, especially given Trump's age. He would be 78 by the time of the 2024 election. Additionally, Harris will have to navigate the delicate task of stepping out of Biden's shadow while proving herself as a capable and strong leader in her own right. Given that she has not yet served as president, the electorate may harbor reservations about her ability to lead the country in an increasingly polarized and challenging environment. On the Republican side, Trump will likely seize upon Musk's revelations to further discredit the Democratic leadership. Trump has been relentless in his attacks on Biden, painting him as weak, incompetent, and incapable of effectively governing the nation. The news of Biden's illness, therefore, provides Trump with fresh ammunition to bolster his narrative. He will undoubtedly frame the decision for Harris to step in as a tacit admission that the Democratic Party knows Biden is no longer fit for office. Trump's strategy may center on portraying the Democrats as a party in disarray, unable to offer strong, consistent leadership at a time when the nation faces significant domestic and international challenges. Musk's disclosure also forces the media to grapple with how to handle presidential health concerns. Historically, there has been a fine line between respecting a president's privacy and ensuring transparency regarding their ability to govern. For instance, Franklin D. Roosevelt's battle with polio was largely hidden from the public, and John F. Kennedy's health problems were downplayed during his presidency. In Biden's case, however, the combination of Musk's immense public profile and the proliferation of social media ensures that the topic cannot be easily ignored or dismissed. The public is more likely than ever to demand clarity on Biden's condition and to question whether Harris is prepared to step into the highest office in the land. The possibility that Biden's health may be the reason for his exit from the 2024 race also opens up a broader conversation about the future of American leadership. If Biden, who represented the more moderate wing of the Democratic Party, is stepping aside, does this signal a shift toward more progressive policies under Harris? Will the Democratic Party rally behind Harris as its unifying candidate, or will there be fractures and divisions as different factions vie for influence? These are critical questions that will shape the election, and the answers could have long-lasting consequences for the direction of the country. Elon Musk's role in bringing Biden's health into the public discourse is also emblematic of a larger trend in which influential figures outside of the traditional political sphere are increasingly shaping the conversation. Musk, with his vast business empire and vocal presence on platforms like Twitter, now X, represents a new kind of power broker, one who can influence public opinion without holding elected office. His comments about Biden's health will undoubtedly contribute to the larger narrative surrounding the 2024 election, and may even push other prominent figures to weigh in on issues that would have once been considered too sensitive or personal to discuss openly. In addition to the immediate political ramifications, the revelation of Biden's illness raises questions about how future elections will address the health and fitness of candidates. In an era where voters have unprecedented access to information, the physical and mental well-being of those seeking the presidency is likely to become a more prominent issue. Candidates may be pressured to release more detailed health records or undergo regular medical evaluations to reassure the public that they are capable of serving. While this could lead to greater transparency, it could also set a challenging precedent where every slip-up or moment of fatigue is scrutinized under a harsh public microscope. Kamala Harris's campaign, now positioned at the forefront of the Democratic effort, will have to carefully navigate the complexities introduced by Biden's health concerns. Harris must balance honoring Biden's legacy while also presenting herself as a leader in her own right, capable of addressing the pressing issues of the day. Whether it's managing the ongoing economic recovery, addressing climate change, or responding to foreign policy challenges, Harris will need to prove that she is not just a placeholder, but a legitimate candidate with a vision for the future of America. For her part, Harris may benefit from the fact that she has already spent 4 years in the second highest office in the country. This experience, combined with her background as a prosecutor and senator, gives her a foundation upon which to build her campaign. However, she will still face significant hurdles, not the least of which is overcoming the perception that she is inheriting the role from Biden rather than earning it on her own merits. The 2024 election will be her chance to demonstrate that she is more than just Biden's successor, that she has the leadership qualities and policy expertise to take the reins of the country at a critical moment. To understand the full gravity of this situation, it's important to explore how health, age, and leadership have historically played crucial roles in American politics, particularly during election cycles. While health concerns have often been kept behind closed doors, Musk's public platform and his willingness to speak out about Biden's condition have brought this issue to the forefront of the national conversation. Given that Biden has remained tight-lipped about any serious health issues, Musk's claims push the boundaries of what is publicly acceptable in terms of discussing the private lives and conditions of political leaders. The role of health in the presidency is a delicate topic. American voters have long placed trust in their leaders to be not just competent, but also physically and mentally capable of withstanding the immense pressures of the office. The presidency of the United States is often described as one of the most demanding jobs in the world, with responsibilities ranging from managing domestic policy to leading military operations and overseeing international relations. This is not a job for the faint of heart or for those unable to meet the rigorous demands of the position. Historically, the health of presidents has been a point of concern but also a subject of secrecy. The U.S. has seen its share of presidents who battled illnesses while in office. Franklin D. Roosevelt famously served 4 terms, despite suffering from polio, which left him paralyzed from the waist down. Though his disability was largely hidden from the public, Roosevelt managed to lead the country through the Great Depression and World War II. Similarly, John F. Kennedy struggled with Addison's disease, a chronic illness that was kept under wraps throughout his presidency. However, the political landscape has changed drastically since those times, particularly with the rise of social media and 24-hour news cycles. In the digital age, it is far more difficult to keep such matters private, and public figures like Musk are able to broadcast their perspectives instantly to millions of followers. The disclosure of Biden's health problems also triggers an important conversation about the future of leadership in an aging political class. Both major political parties in the U.S. have seen a dominance of older figures in leadership roles. Biden, at 81 during the 2024 election, would have been the oldest sitting president had he sought re-election. His opponent in 2020, and now again in 2024, Donald Trump, is not far behind, as he is set to be 78 during the election. The prominence of older candidates has sparked debates about age limits for public office, and whether there should be a threshold at which a politician must retire. This conversation often leads to broader discussions about cognitive decline and the physical toll of the presidency. While there is no formal age limit for serving as president, the rigors of the job can be overwhelming even for younger leaders. The stress of governing a superpower takes a toll on every president, no matter their age. When leaders like Biden or Trump are in the spotlight, their age becomes a focal point for criticism, as the electorate wonders whether they can sustain the energy, focus, and mental sharpness required for the role. Biden's health, according to Musk, may be an indication that the demands of the presidency have already taken a toll on him, and this could be one of the key reasons he has chosen not to run again. With Biden stepping aside, Kamala Harris now takes center stage as the Democratic candidate, a role she must assume with determination and a clear vision. The implications of her candidacy, especially after Musk's revelations, could have a profound impact on the electorate's perception of her as a leader. On one hand, Harris represents continuity from the Biden administration. As vice president, she has been closely involved in decision-making processes, policies, and key initiatives that have shaped the past 4 years. On the other hand, she must also define herself as a leader distinct from Biden, capable of charting her own course and presenting a future-focused vision for the country. However, this presents a significant challenge for Harris. Throughout her time as vice president, her visibility has been somewhat limited. Although she made history as the first woman of color to hold the office of vice president, her public image has been shaped by a number of controversies and missteps, particularly regarding her handling of immigration and border security issues. Some of her critics argue that she has not demonstrated the strong leadership qualities needed to secure broad support, especially from key voting blocs that are crucial to winning the presidency, such as moderate Democrats, independents, and swing voters. In contrast, Harris has been praised by others for her progressive policies and her willingness to address issues like racial justice, police reform, and women's rights. Her candidacy, therefore, reflects the ongoing divide within the Democratic Party between its progressive wing and its more centrist members. Harris has the unique opportunity to bridge this gap, but she will need to do so carefully if she is to unify the party and present a strong challenge to Trump. The Democratic Party's future could hinge on Harris's ability to appeal to a broad base, especially as she faces a formidable opponent in Trump. Donald Trump, for his part, has wasted no time in capitalizing on the situation. Musk's disclosure of Biden's health problems plays directly into Trump's long-standing narrative that Biden is unfit to lead. Throughout his first term and his 2020 campaign, Trump frequently criticized Biden's cognitive abilities, often referring to him as Sleepy Joe and suggesting that Biden lacked the mental sharpness necessary to serve as president. Musk's statements have now given Trump further ammunition, as he can point to them as evidence that even influential figures outside of politics are raising concerns about Biden's capacity to govern. Trump's strategy in 2024 will likely focus on positioning himself as a strong, energetic leader in contrast to both Biden and Harris. He will attempt to portray Harris as untested, inexperienced, and overly reliant on the policies of a failing administration. Given that Harris has not yet served as president, Trump may also exploit the uncertainty surrounding her leadership style and effectiveness. His supporters will likely rally around the idea that Harris represents a continuation of policies they believe have hurt the country, such as those related to the economy, immigration, and foreign policy. However, this presents a significant challenge for Harris. Throughout her time as vice president, her visibility has been somewhat limited. Although she made history as the first woman of color to hold the office of vice president, her public image has been shaped by a number of controversies and missteps, particularly regarding her handling of immigration and border security issues. Some of her critics argue that she has not demonstrated the strong leadership qualities needed to secure broad support, especially from key voting blocs that are crucial to winning the presidency, such as moderate Democrats, independents, and swing voters. In contrast, Harris has been praised by others for her progressive policies and her willingness to address issues like racial justice, police reform, and women's rights. Her candidacy, therefore, reflects the ongoing divide within the Democratic Party between its progressive wing and its more centrist members. Harris has the unique opportunity to bridge this gap, but she will need to do so carefully if she is to unify the party and present a strong challenge to Trump. The Democratic Party's future could hinge on Harris's ability to appeal to a broad base, especially as she faces a formidable opponent in Trump. Donald Trump, for his part, has wasted no time in capitalizing on the situation. Musk's disclosure of Biden's health problems plays directly into Trump's long-standing narrative that Biden is unfit to lead. Throughout his first term and his 2020 campaign, Trump frequently criticized Biden's cognitive abilities, often referring to him as Sleepy Joe and suggesting that Biden lacked the mental sharpness necessary to serve as president. Musk's statements have now given Trump further ammunition, as he can point to them as evidence that even influential figures outside of politics are raising concerns about Biden's capacity to govern. Trump's strategy in 2024 will likely focus on positioning himself as a strong, energetic leader in contrast to both Biden and Harris. He will attempt to portray Harris as untested, inexperienced, and overly reliant on the policies of a failing administration. Given that Harris has not yet served as president, Trump may also exploit the uncertainty surrounding her leadership style and effectiveness. His supporters will likely rally around the idea that Harris represents a continuation of policies they believe have hurt the country, such as those related to the economy, immigration, and foreign policy. At the same time, Musk's revelation adds an additional layer of complexity to the Republican strategy. While Trump has positioned himself as the dominant figure in the Republican Party, there is always the possibility that other candidates or public figures could emerge to challenge him. Musk's comments about Biden may embolden other Republicans to step forward and question both Biden's and Harris's capabilities, potentially fracturing the party's unified front behind Trump. Alternatively, Musk's involvement could solidify Trump's position as the Republican nominee, as his base may see Musk's comments as validation of their long-standing concerns about Democratic leadership. The 2024 election is already proving to be one of the most unpredictable in U.S. history, and Elon Musk's recent comments regarding Joe Biden's health have only added to the intrigue. Musk's statements, coupled with Biden's decision to step aside in favor of Kamala Harris, create a complex web of political, social, and cultural implications. These developments signify a shift not only in the Democratic Party, but also in the dynamics of American politics as a whole. As the country braces for the impending face-off between Harris and Donald Trump, the stakes are higher than ever before. Beyond the immediate questions of leadership and health, these events bring to light critical issues regarding the role of transparency in political leadership, the future of political discourse, and the changing landscape of American democracy. One of the central questions that arises from Musk's disclosure is the degree to which health issues should influence public leadership decisions. While the health of the president has always been a sensitive and occasionally guarded topic, the nature of Musk's remarks brings it into the public domain in a more overt way. This raises the question of what level of transparency should be expected from those holding the highest offices in government. Historically, health problems of U.S. presidents have been kept out of the public eye as much as possible, with aides, doctors, and sometimes even the media complicit in shielding leaders from scrutiny. However, Musk's comments about Biden's health create a new precedent in the digital age, where it becomes nearly impossible to control such narratives once they have entered the public sphere. There is a growing argument that transparency regarding the health of political leaders should be non-negotiable. As the public places enormous trust in elected officials, particularly in the president, there is a corresponding expectation that the leader is physically and mentally capable of fulfilling the duties required of them. While voters may appreciate privacy to a certain extent, the reality is that a leader's ability to govern is directly tied to their health. Should a president experience cognitive decline or severe physical health issues, it could compromise national security, economic stability, and policy decisions at critical moments. The recent concerns about Biden's health, sparked by Musk's remarks, highlight this risk and raise the question of how the U.S. might address these concerns in the future. One potential outcome of this discussion is the increased push for candidates, particularly presidential candidates, to provide regular health updates or publicize their medical records. This is not entirely unprecedented, as some candidates have voluntarily released health information in the past. In the 2008 election, for example, John McCain made some of his medical history public to reassure voters that he was fit to serve despite being a cancer survivor and a Vietnam War POW. More recently, in the 2020 election, both Trump and Biden were subject to extensive health scrutiny, especially following Trump's hospitalization with COVID-19. However, the level of transparency required has always been at the discretion of the candidate. The notion that more formal health disclosures could become standard practice is one that will likely gain traction as voters demand greater transparency. Given Musk's claims about Biden's health, the conversation surrounding medical disclosures may intensify in the lead-up to the 2024 election. Candidates like Kamala Harris and Donald Trump could find themselves in a position where they are expected to provide detailed reports of their own health to reassure voters of their fitness for office. This could lead to more formalized structures where political candidates, particularly those for the presidency, undergo regular health evaluations that are made public. Such transparency would likely appeal to voters concerned about electing leaders who may not be physically or cognitively up to the task of governing. However, this also opens up a larger debate about privacy and the limits of public disclosure. While voters may feel entitled to know about a candidate's physical health, particularly if it could affect their ability to govern, where is the line drawn? Does the public have the right to know about every health issue, or only those that could directly impact leadership capabilities? There is also the question of whether publicizing health issues might discourage capable individuals from running for office out of fear that their personal medical histories will be dissected and sensationalized. It is a delicate balance that the U.S. political system will need to navigate in the coming years. Furthermore, Biden's decision to step aside and endorse Kamala Harris opens up another crucial discussion about the changing face of leadership in the U.S. The transfer of power from Biden to Harris is symbolic in many ways, reflecting a broader cultural shift towards more diverse representation in American politics. Harris, as the first woman, the first black woman, and the first person of South Asian descent to serve as vice president, represents a profound shift in the political landscape of the country. Her ascent to the presidential candidacy is not just a reflection of her personal achievements, but also of the evolving demographic and cultural dynamics of the U.S. This shift is significant not only because it breaks historical barriers, but also because it challenges traditional notions of leadership. For decades, the U.S. presidency has been dominated by older white male figures, with a few notable exceptions, such as Barack Obama. Harris's rise signals that the future of American leadership may be more inclusive, reflecting the diversity of the population. This shift is particularly important as the U.S. becomes more multicultural, with changing racial and ethnic demographics altering the makeup of the electorate. For many voters, Harris's candidacy represents progress towards a more representative democracy, one where leadership reflects the people it serves. However, Harris's candidacy also poses challenges, particularly within the Democratic Party. While she has significant support from progressive factions of the party, there are concerns about her ability to unite the Democratic base and appeal to more moderate and independent voters. The Democratic Party has long been a coalition of various interest groups, including progressives, moderates, labor unions, and minority communities. Managing this coalition requires a delicate balancing act, and Harris must navigate these competing interests while crafting a cohesive vision for the country. Her ability to do so could determine the success of her campaign and the future direction of the Democratic Party. Additionally, Harris's candidacy brings renewed attention to the issue of gender in leadership. While the U.S. has made significant strides towards gender equality in politics, the presidency remains a final frontier. Women have made inroads at every level of government, but no woman has yet ascended to the presidency. Harris's candidacy in 2024 could change that, and it comes at a time when women's rights, particularly in areas such as reproductive health, are at the forefront of political discourse. Harris's campaign will likely draw significant support from women voters who see her as a champion of gender equality and empowerment. On the flip side, Harris's candidacy could also reignite the long-standing debate over identity politics. Critics of Harris may argue that her candidacy is more about fulfilling identity quotas than about qualifications or experience. These critics could point to her relatively short tenure as a national political figure and question whether she has the experience necessary to lead the country, especially in the face of significant challenges such as inflation, healthcare reform, and foreign policy crises. This line of attack is not new. Harris has faced such criticism throughout her career, but it could become a central theme of the 2024 election. Beyond the internal dynamics of the Democratic Party, Harris's candidacy must also contend with the formidable challenge posed by Donald Trump. The 2024 election is shaping up to be a rematch of the bitter 2020 contest, although with Harris taking Biden's place. Trump, who has maintained a strong base of support among Republicans, has shown no signs of stepping aside, despite the controversy surrounding his first term and his continued efforts to challenge the legitimacy of the 2020 election results. His campaign in 2024 will likely be driven by a platform of populist nationalism, appealing to voters who feel disenfranchised by the political establishment and cultural elites. Trump's brand of politics, rooted in populism, will again target the same issues that helped him win the presidency in 2016: immigration, economic nationalism, and cultural conservatism. However, 2024 presents a different political environment than previous elections. The country is more polarized than ever, with deep divisions not just between Republicans and Democrats, but also within the parties themselves. For Trump, the challenge will be to unite the Republican base while also appealing to swing voters, particularly in battleground states that will decide the election. Given his polarizing figure, Trump will need to galvanize his supporters while finding a way to mitigate his high unfavorability ratings among moderates and independents. For Kamala Harris, the challenge of running against Trump will be multifaceted. As a woman of color, she will face attacks that are both gendered and racialized, similar to the attacks Hillary Clinton faced in 2016, but with an added dimension due to her race and ethnicity. Trump has a history of using inflammatory rhetoric when discussing his opponents, and it is likely that his campaign will continue to deploy such tactics. Harris will need to prepare for an aggressive campaign, one that could become even more vitriolic than the 2020 contest. In this regard, Harris's performance in debates, speeches, and public appearances will be critical to countering Trump's attacks and establishing her own narrative. Harris must also navigate the complex web of voter expectations and political realities. While Trump's base remains loyal and enthusiastic, Harris will need to find a way to energize the Democratic base, particularly younger voters, progressives, and communities of color. These groups were key to Biden's victory in 2020, but maintaining their enthusiasm will be crucial in 2024. Harris's progressive policies on issues such as healthcare, criminal justice reform, and climate change may resonate with these voters, but she will need to balance these positions with an appeal to more moderate Democrats and independents who may be wary of the party's leftward shift. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, how do you think Kamala Harris will fare against Trump? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.